Surah 2 verse 187, we see actually Islam cannot be for the people who live in the north of Equator, people who live in Canada, Alaska, Finland, Sweden, because they do not get the same climate we get and the people get in Mecca.
That's right.
That tells us Islam is only people who live in Saudi Arabia. Because those people, when they fast, if they don't have the night break, they need to focus their fast breaking in the time of Mecca, which that's what Muslim scholars conclude. It implies Muslim scholars saw the need when people in Norway become a Christian, Muslim, when people in Alaska become a Muslim, Muslim scholars conclude knowledge of Allah was not good enough for those people. Therefore, let's come up with the new rules and regulations.
Innovations, they start to make up stuff.
Therefore, let's focus on the Mecca, Saudi Arabia, to break your fast. If you live in a country...
There are 2 points she's making here which I will address. Before I do so, I just want to say this is the way I read the situation. If somebody is making this type of argument to a Muslim in person, it's either because they are not bright or informed or fair-minded themselves, or they believe that's a Muslim, is not bright and or informed about Islam. Let's have a look at both arguments. Firstly, on the point of innovations and making human rulings on circumstances which are not covered in the Quran, this is actually an Islamic principle, so it's not a new concept she seems to be unaware of. It's part of Islam. It's taught in Islam. It's called ijtihad. It's actually an overall principle believed to be taught by the Prophet in the Hadith literature. I'd refer you to the Prophet's questioning of a ruler being sent to a new land to preside in judgment. He asks him how he would judge if a matter is not found in the Quran or the Sunnah. The answer being ijtihad. It covers making rulings for issues which are not covered in the Quran or the Sunnah. Obviously, polar days and polar nights aren't covered, so they would fall into this category, which is very much catered for in Islam.
If there is a place where during the summertime the days and the nights become so distorted that sometimes entire 24 hours can go by without a complete cycle in terms of the sun rising and the sun setting and all of that, near the near the North Pole and the South Pole, and in extreme places like that, extreme latitudes where they don't even experience the full cycle of the day. For those people, they will pick the nearest location where there is an actual full cycling of the day, and they will basically fast based off of their timings. So there is that type of a ruling and a concession, but that is specifically for those people where they don't even have the break of dawn and the setting of the sun because of the extreme latitudes that they live in.
Islamic teachings anticipated circumstances which are not legislated for via explicit teachings from the Quran and the Sunnah. So this lady's argument is a non-starter. This is the problem when you don't take the religion as an organic whole. All she's doing is isolating texts, zoning in and extrapolating with a polemical and antagonistic approach. It's never going to wash with serious-minded folk. To argue against Islam because Muslims have encountered polar nights and polar days in the extreme north of the globe is just a product of your lack of understanding of the Islamic tradition and or your lack of fairness when talking about the religion. Who is really going to turn away from the religion because of arguments like that? The other claim she makes talks about the Quran, chapter 2, verse 187. Then she unfairly concludes Allah does not know everything. Would she make the same argument based on the Quran, chapter 5, verse 6, where the Muslims are instructed to make ablution by washing their arms and feet? We know not everyone has feet and or arms. is she really going to conclude that the verse indicates Allah is not all-knowing? I assume she believes the Quran is of human origin because she's a Christian. Would she say she believes the community of Arabs were unaware that there were people without arms and or feet? The fact is, religious texts are going to give general instructions which apply to the majority, but that does not mean the general instruction applies to everybody and every situation. I'll give her an example from the Bible, which if she's consistent, she'd conclude the God of the Bible, Yahweh, is not all-knowing. For her, that would be the Father, the Son, which she believes to be Jesus, essentially, and the Holy Spirit. If you have a look at Deuteronomy 22, verse 23 to 24, this is about sexual intercourse outside of marriage. The assumption appears to be that because a girl did not cry out or cry out loud enough, she was willing, i.e. she was not raped, and thus she is deserving of punishment. However, what if the girl is mute and cannot cry out or cry loudly enough to be heard? Are you going to say Yahweh was not aware of this possibility? What if the girl passes out and is in shock and pain, and thus cannot cry out due to her being unconscious? Again, are you going to say Yahweh is not aware of this? Likewise, what if the girl had been drugged or intoxicated prior without her consent? Are you going to say Yahweh is not aware of this possibility? Or are you going to be fair and just say this is a general rule, but the community would judge special circumstances like those which I've mentioned? Christian missionaries and evangelists have a poor reputation. They want you to sign on the dotted line and join their church. That's their agenda. Be smart, be alert, don't be fooled.